Welcome to an incomplete guide to personal growth. We invite you to take a breath and take a listen to our podcast that explores the wonder, humor, challenges, and sometimes those self-inflicted wounds on the journey of personal growth.
Our weekly podcast conversations include stories, resources, and tools that you can incorporate into your daily life. We're the mother-daughter duo of Sydney West
and Kelly Arundel. Hey, Sid.
Hey, Mom. You've had some busy times.
I've had some busy times. I've been helping someone move, and I found two things.
Yeah.
First is, and I think you already knew this, but when I move people, when I help move, or when I move myself, the minute a box is empty,
you gotta crush it.
I've got to take it up, take the off, crush it, and flatten it, because
you don't like it
too much space.
Yeah.
And it shows what I've accomplished.
That's true.
There's a box, and they pile on up.
Yeah, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And the other thing,
I had injuries.
From what specifically?
Allen wrenches.
Yes. Whoever this Allen guy is.
Yeah, I've had it.
Needs to. I don't like these wrenches.
It's like the short end, and then the long end, and trying to get it in there.
And it won't go away, so you just have to keep
doing it. And I have it right there.
Ouch, on your finger.
It just kept. I don't know.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know. And everyone, we assembled 6 or 7 pieces of because there was a shelf and there's this little thing, and everyone has a different one. And she had a bag of Allen wrenches that she collected, and we still couldn't find one, so we just had to wait one at a time.
Oh my! I do wonder if there's a count for how many different sizes and types of Allen wrenches there are.
Is there just enough difference? Yeah. They're handy in that you don't have to go find a screwdriver, but really, I don't know.
Oh my gosh!
Anyway,
yeah. So today we also continue with our season's theme, kind of wrapping it up actually this week. With a really special interview. Julie Afsahi and Jessica Cross, they wrote a book called Seasons of Sound, which is how we kind of got our theme for the month. And so we have an interview with them about their new book and sound baths.
It's gonna be great.
Yes, and if you need to go back refresh yourself on what a sound bath is, we have an episode from a few months ago of where we went to a sound bath. But otherwise, definitely we are ready for this interview.
All right, we are so excited to have 2 co-authors of Seasons of Sound. And we have Julie Afsahi and Jessica Cross with us, and we're going to be learning about sound healing, sound baths, how sound resonates within our body, and just all instruments, the whole gamut. So let me just start by asking how either one of you
introduce themselves.
Yeah. How you got into this, and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Well, my name's Jessica Cross. Thanks so much for having us on your show. We're so delighted to be here with you. I have, maybe a similar story to many folks who ended up in a yoga class where a teacher was playing a singing bowl, and it was the catalyst, obviously, to to being here today. If you look that far back, it's kind of funny. Who knew? But being introduced, being introduced to sound, was such an important, pivotal moment in my life, and it's really changed my my personal practice. Has changed my life, from all things, and also my career. So it's just it's amazing. Clearly, I'm a big fan. I'll just say.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you so much, Sydney and Kelly. We're so happy to be here, and I'm so lucky because. So just to give you a little bit of background, I own a yoga studio in Round Rock, just if you're listening, just north of Austin. And when we first opened over 6 years ago, Jessica was one of our first teachers, and she brought sound healing, so specifically the crystal singing bowls and the gong to Soul Strong. And I just fell in love right away. So I was so lucky that Jess brought all these beautiful instruments to our studio, and I am high anxiety, high stress person, and I found the singing bowls and the gongs to be super relaxing. So then I got really into it myself and started studying under Jessica, and then took some additional trainings too, and really got into it. So I feel really, really thankful that Jess introduced our whole studio and community to sound healing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
That's
so
led
cool.
to this book. This is incredible.
That's-
Yeah, what a journey.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah.
And sound healing is definitely relaxing. So yeah, so we did our podcast on a sound bath, and I definitely fell asleep for at least the last little bit of it. It was so nice. And I was on like just the hard floor, like did I matter? Oh my gosh. So relaxing.
It was good. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you both practice at the same studio, so you kind of got to know each other there. So then what eventually led to this book and inspired you to write it?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Yeah, thanks for asking. Well, yeah, ever since I walked into Julie's studio, she was stuck with me. I knew we were going to be friends immediately. We both have like a silly, humorous way of living. You know, life is so serious, and when you see and meet somebody else who can try to find a little bit of joy in the day, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
like it's so she was stuck with me from the get-go. And yeah, we became really good friends, and we collaborated on lots of things together, you know, small and big. And one of those collaborations was, you know, bringing sound healing training to the Soul Strong yoga community, and specifically to teachers, so that they could include sound healing in their classes and their workshops. And it continued to evolve, and wanted to bring a full sound healing practitioner training to the studio, which is something I was doing outside of the studio. And you know, our collaborations were just you know, doing so well, and there was so much interest, and we were really excited about it. I think that was really the driving force, is the passion behind the interest in sound for us, you know, as individuals, and then together, you know, collaborating on sound baths. So the training, I think, really at least gave us a good shove in getting the book done, because we had deadlines. So we really wanted to have a book for an upcoming training. So we were like, sure, we can write a book.
Do it together?
Yeah, no problem. Like, we can do this. And it was a massive undertaking.
Yes.
Imagine.
But we were motivated. So it was truly a joy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know.
Collaborate on this.
Yeah. I don't know like the sound bath world as much, but I mean, are there many resources out there like this for, you know, teachers and practitioners, Julie?
No, there aren't. And, you know, I don't know if I should say it, so I'm just gonna say it. So we saw too, you know, almost all of them were written by men, and which, you know, men are fantastic. I'm raising two boys, blah blah blah.
Yes.
But Jessica and I noticed that pretty early on, like when studying and looking at resources for developing our trainings. It was like almost all of them were written by men. So we were like, oh, wouldn't it be nice, like, you know, if some women started to write some books in the sound healing world. And then so many people kept telling Jessica to write a book. She was leading all these incredible trainings. And then I don't know what happened. I don't know how I got roped in, but somehow oh man, we hung out too much, and then I ended up being part of it all, which was such a blessing, though. Just an opportunity for us to get to, you know, kind of explore that creative side. We both also enjoy writing so much as well, so pulling from the resources that we had. But really, that was another part of it, was like having maybe a different voice in this space too. And then also Jessica and I have this background in yoga, but specifically to trauma-informed yoga.
Oh,
So
cool.
really creating safe spaces for all sorts of people, and kind of part of the philosophy of all of it is, people might come to a sound bath having no clue what a crystal singing bowl is or a gong, and they might be nervous. And so if the idea of everything is to de-stress, relax, unwind, part of that is really having a super friendly, accessible environment for everyone. So that was kind of a new element that we felt we could bring to it, so that it isn't this like serious format in which you have no clue like what is going to happen with that gong. Is that guy going to hit that gong really loud and
Yeah.
scare me? Like, what is going to happen there? So we felt like we could bring this new element to our book and to our trainings that was like, what's a friendly, safe way we can introduce all these instruments, put everybody at ease, so that they can really just enjoy and have this sweet spa-like experience with the sound bath.
That's so
I
good.
I have found one here that is once a month, and so I go, and we're in San Antonio, and so it's not Austin. So
Yeah.
but I do notice the difference in my body when I go, and I need this. And so you talk about the nervous system, and how it affects
and relates to seasons, right? And how So can you discuss that a little bit more, like this nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, and how it relates to seasons in the book and stuff?
Yeah, this is such a fun and nerdy subject, and we love talking about it, and it's something we could probably go on about for hours and hours on a single subject podcast just about this.
For the light person.
But to put it in a nutshell, as you were saying, there is an effect that it's a felt sense of something changing, something's going on that we don't necessarily always have the words to. And the experience is always different too, which I find absolutely fascinating. I think that's like the coolest part of it. But at a very high level, there is a process called entrainment that is happening in a sound bath. So entrainment is when a sound wave from a singing bowl, a gong, a chime meets your body, and your brain waves begin to sync up to a nice, calm, predictable pattern. So you kind of meet in the middle with those sound waves, and they help bring you into a deeper state of homeostasis. Entrainment also goes the other way. So I'm sure, I can't be the only one who's ever been to like a rock concert where like the bass is pumping and you're like, there's like everybody's having this experience. That's also entrainment. So your body meets the sounds and has a physiological response to it. So it's pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. Go
ahead.
Okay. So again, with kind of meaning that sound, so you also discuss that, kind of almost like sacred sound of the universe. And even spell it out as AUM and then silence. And each of those letters relate to a season. So can you kind of explain its special qualities, why you really decide to incorporate it? That's kind of my question, how it relates to the seasons.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful question. So, especially for yoga people, Om is definitely a sacred sound that represents the vastness of the universe. So the idea is before there was anything, there was this sacred sound, Om. And so it represents a lot of things in yogic philosophy, but really the idea too, when someone is to chant Om in a space, that all of the molecules in the room, in your body, everything kind of syncs up with this sacred sound. and also Om. So Sanskrit is the language that Om comes from, and lots of languages of the world are heavily influenced by Sanskrit. So you'll notice too, like Om and Amen are
Yes.
similar
Yeah.
sounds.
Mhm.
So they're rooted in the same, I guess,
Mhm.
phonetic
Yeah.
pattern.
Yeah.
Right.
So Amen, starting with
Uh-huh.
ah and then ending with it.
Yeah.
The sound from
Yeah.
M. So we used Om, and we break it down in our book. So there's
Yeah.
4 parts to Om. There's the ah and the oo in the middle, and then the that closes the sound,
Mhm.
and then the space for silence.
Yeah.
These 4 equal parts. We align those to the season, and even in yogic philosophy, the
Mhm.
4 parts of Om each have a special meaning, which aligned really well to the season. So if you think of spring as the birth of seeds being planted, really, nourished, fertile soil, these are all elements of spring. So similarly, the ah in Om is also representative of awakening and
Mhm.
of new ideas and of really just this kind of like alertness of being. And so we intentionally said that is similar to the season of spring, not only like the earth season of spring, but I noticed on your podcast too, talking about seasons of friendship. Also, you
Yes.
mentioned
Yep.
future
Yeah.
podcasts, maybe like seasons of health. We align that too to this idea of ways that you can theme your meditation and your sound bath as seasons of life. Like, when in your life are you kind of like planting these seeds and getting ready for new
Mhm.
ideas? Perhaps, like, for example, you're in college and you're like working on your education. That's this idea too, that you're like getting ready for things to come. You're like planting all of these great seeds, preparing for your life ahead. So we also said these are ways you can theme this whole experience for yourself in your meditation practice, or theme this whole experience of creating a sound bath for other people. And then we carry that throughout into other seasons. So we talk about fall and its alignment with the middle sound of Om, and then as well as summer, of course, and winter. And so we aligned it with each of these pieces of Om.
I love.
I do too. Yeah. I love I guess because I've heard of Om, I've done it in some meditation apps, but the silence
Yeah.
at the end, that's
take note.
so incredible to me because I like silence. I'm a person that will sit in
Yes.
silence. So it's like, oh, you need the space.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when, as a musician, it's the space, the silence in between the notes that makes the
It makes the music.
yeah. So that was, I had never had that put together like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so, did you intentionally include silence? Is it something that is kind of taken of note, like in yoga practices?
Yes, yeah, we definitely are big fans of pauses and silence as well. So
Nice.
I love what you just said about the pauses in between notes and not making the music. There's a lot of intentionality with including pauses in sound baths as well as in yoga classes too. Even if it's just brief, to create the contrast between the sound that you heard before and the sound that you'll hear next, or the pose, or etc. Be it whatever setting that you're in. So there's definitely space for the pause so that we can grow into the next thing.
Yeah, I like that. I do. So I have this comes from my personal me. I love going to the sound bath, right? I bring my pillow, my blanket so I don't get cold. And, I'm gone for that whole time.
Yeah.
I am gone. How do you incorporate and y'all talk about yoga. I have tried yoga. And I just
You
think
can't do it. You
my
can, but
body screams at me. But so
not doing it.
I'm not doing it right. Listen to you.
Keep going.
So my question is, I love the sound bath. Can I just do the sound bath?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's a form of, so just to be clear, like yoga is a big umbrella and there's
Uh-huh.
lots of different kinds of yoga. And you know, in the States, we think of yoga as like going to a yoga studio and doing all these
Mhm.
super intense stretches and like
Yes.
getting a big workout where you're like folding your body in half and in a pretzel and,
Yep.
you know, staying on your head and all this stuff. And yoga really is much
I know.
broader than that. So,
Yeah.
so even meditation is a form of yoga. Yoga just is a broad term that means union and connection. So that's why you see there's like sound yoga,
Oh.
and restorative yoga is like the really chill, relaxing form of
Okay.
yoga.
Yeah.
So all of these things are all yoga. Yoga just means connection, and people interpret it usually as like connection with your higher self.
Okay.
So it's like
Well,
you can
now
have
I'm not.
all these practices. So you're doing
So I'm
yoga.
not
When
so
you go to the
intimidated.
sound bath,
I
you're
was
doing
like,
yoga.
they're gonna talk yoga, and I'm like, I don't do.
You do yoga.
But I do.
You
Okay.
do yoga when
Wow.
you go to a
That
sound
is
bath.
so
That's
helpful.
called nada yoga. It's this the yoga of sound.
Yoga of sound. There
I
we go.
Yeah.
love it.
That's
Oh, I
so
can't
good.
wait to tell people
Oh,
that I do
my
yoga.
goodness.
You
I
do yoga.
I cannot. I cannot.
I love it.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. I also noticed in the book you include mudras, these hand gestures in the book. So why'd you pick like those specific ones? Like I know you've got like the lotus one in there and like these. So why include them? Because you know, even at the sound bath we went to, it wasn't really talked about. So why include them? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty commonplace too, to go to a you know, average Sunday sound bath,
Yeah.
and there's not usually mudra. And
Mhm.
I think that's one of the things that we were really passionate about, because mudra is yoga for your hands,
Mhm.
basically, and it is a way to direct energy, and also to invite in additional layer of intention. So you mentioned the lotus mudra. If we're talking about spring, you know, we're opening up to, you know, the possibilities, you know, things are starting to move quickly again, and there's more sun and brightness. So this this idea of lotus, it is just another way, another layer, if you will, to add that intentionality into the sound bath. And we chose those mudras, you know, very much based on the season.
Yeah.
So did a little bit of research, and then also from our own practice too, on what would make the most sense. And honestly, there are hundreds of different hasta mudras that you do with your hands. So you could find other ones too, but we wanted to make sure that you had some approachable ones that could help, you know, support the sound bath, the meditation, also something that you could connect before you do your journaling or your affirmation practice that we have in Seasons of Sound. So it's just another way to direct energy.
I like it. Yeah.
So practicing at home, because I'm looking at it and I have this singing bowl, and goodness knows, you know, nobody wants to hear it.
Except for Charles.
Except for my 2-year-old grandson.
Who wants to hear it.
But I love, when I go to a sound bath, I love, there's certain instruments that resonate. I know the gong. I love that. I love, how do I do that at home? Are there...
They mention like how to buy some instruments in there.
Yeah, but what if how to start before you buy an instrument?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can talk about both of those. So one is, you know, you mentioned music before as well, but so just using your own voice. So you can do something as simple as like a humming practice. And if you're listening and you're like, how do you know, what are they even talking about? You can look up something called bumblebee's breath. So it's a yoga practice, but essentially you can just close your eyes and hum. So maybe you take 3 rounds of humming where you just like hum on your own, and that can help to calm the nervous system. So we talked a little bit about the nervous system before, but it's like direct access to this parasympathetic response, which is the rest and digest part of the nervous system. So you could just take a nice inhale in and then hum, nice inhale in, hum, inhale, and then hum
Okay.
again. And that's a sound healing practice. If you have a singing bowl that you've bought, you can do something very similar with the singing bowl. And just even if you're able to just tap the singing bowl,
Okay.
you can hold the singing bowl, on your fingertips, and then just take a nice inhale in, tap, let it completely play out, and then do that for 2 more rounds. And that just helps you to just sync, like Jess was talking about entrainment, sync the nervous system with these nice, slow, resonant sounds, just to help, kind of wash away that stress and let it go. So you don't need anything fancy.
See, that makes so much sense, because I do, like, I'll do meetings or whatever online, and I'll start with that, and I love just waiting for it to end. There's something there, but I thought you had to do, and I'm like, it just doesn't. I haven't
go around the
I
ball.
practice, but I can't. But so anyway,
that's good.
Well, that's helpful. Yeah, and this is going to sound stupid, but I'm going to ask him. I love the gong, but are there smaller ones? Shut up, Sydney.
No, you're good.
Oh yes, yeah.
Because it resonates. I mean, there's something with it that I like that. So there are small.
It's a beautiful sound.
Okay.
Yeah, there are many different sizes and different styles of gongs too. I think that's kind of one of the beautiful things about it is just the wide variety of options that are out there, and you don't need to spend a ton of money to have a nice gong. I really love, as a starter, a wind gong, and it doesn't need to be a massive wind gong, and you don't need to play it really hard or really fast or anything like that. Just as Julie was saying with the singing bowl, the 3 taps and let it ring out, or one of the many beautiful practices that she has written in Seasons of Sound would be a perfect opportunity for personal practice.
And I think it's interesting. We can't get into it all. There's so much in this. How the notes hit the different chakras pitches, and the pitches, and that's fascinating.
Yeah, we go into that in our book, and but Jess said it too at the beginning of the podcast, like so many of these topics you can go really deep into. So I teach, for example, like a 20-hour training just on the chakras. So you can go like really, really deep into it. But even if you have a Spotify account or Amazon Music or whatever, you can look up like root chakra sounds and listen to people playing bowls, gong, or chanting to help, really stabilize, open up that root chakra, which is your feeling of safety and security. And you can do that for all of the chakras. So even if, again, you don't have an instrument, you can listen to sounds that help open up that chakra. So for example, a classic example is the throat chakra. So if you have to give a presentation at work or to have a tough conversation and you're like, oh, I feel like I can't talk, I can't do this, you could listen to sounds that could help open up that throat chakra.
No, that is cool.
Okay, we'll have to look those up. Do each of you have like a favorite sound bath instrument you just really, really love to use? How about you go first, Jessica?
Oh, that's so hard. I have to pick one. Well, I'll have to go with my first love, which is honestly the metal singing bowls. They're so deep and resonant, and I think if I had to do just one, it would be them.
Okay.
Mine is always the gong. I love the gong. Yay! So, and there's specifically hand hammered gongs. I love them so much. But I do like a metal singing bowl too, but I always will choose the gong.
So what personal benefits have you experienced from these sound baths, and I don't know, maybe not so much like giving them, but maybe for you when you experience it, what are personal benefits over time that you've kind of had?
Gosh, the list is long. I think, personal benefits. I think playing sound for myself, it sometimes feels like a luxury. And in ways it is, but in another, it's so simple. And I think it helps me remember that just the simple practices that we were just talking about, it's like, you don't need a lot for it to be impactful. And it doesn't need to be this whole drawn out hour-long ceremony of things. Maybe that's your thing, sure. But for me, I'm like short on time always.
Yeah.
And it's gotta be approachable or it's just not gonna happen. So for me, it's just, remembering that I can make this space and it can be as small and imperfect as it needs to be, and it's still really impactful. I think also just, deep listening, listening to the sound of a singing bowl or a gong completely ring out before, acting in any way, like before getting up or moving, or if I'm playing for someone else, like letting things settle. Those pauses are so much, I think, more palatable when I'm playing than, in other, daily activities where you're, have a conversation with your spouse or, you're looking for that pause and you're like, it's just not there. You can make the pause happen, when you're playing for yourself.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
So good. What about you, Julie?
It's not the same. It's similar to you were saying, giving a sound bath, but I've noticed too recently. So when Jessica and I are giving sound baths, there's like sometimes 40 minutes where I'm not playing. I just get to receive, sitting up there waiting for my turn.
Yeah.
And it is so hard for me to come back from that. And I am in real life a complete stress case. Like I have a million zillion thoughts going on. And so there's something for me too about the sound bath. Like it's really hard for me to stress out. Like I am so chill, waiting for my turn. And I think it's just listening to the crystal bowls and the way that just plays too is really beautiful. It's kind of slow. It feels almost like this ambient, beautiful sound. And I'm so calm up there. But similarly, like, at a sound bath or just even putting on the sound of ocean waves, it's just hard for my brain to continue its madness. So for me, it's like just kind of that direct access to calm. The sound bath, which is so great.
That's the same for my anxiety of mine goes all the time. And I think the sound baths just helps them, and it just the health benefits from just de-stressing, with the cortisol, all that in your body. And then same thing, like you said, ocean sounds. Oh my gosh, the beach is like my happy place. It's truly probably the one place where I ever feel like I can fully disconnect and like breathe. And it really is, I think, that type of whatever resonance the ocean waves have, like truly resonate with me and help me calm down. So I think I need to do them more often, and I like the idea that at home, it doesn't take much. You can do 3 rings and that can, seep into your life.
Don't use my bowl. You can take my bowl from me. I'm going to be thinking. So, gosh, I love San Antonio, but this just makes me want to move to Austin. We don't. So for the average, I try. How do you
find?
I know, get online and look, but what specifically, maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, I look for sound baths. I found one.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm not looking. I avoided the term yoga, so that may be my problem.
Maybe.
Maybe. Unfortunately, it does seem to be, when you're seeking out your comfort place for sound, you might find a lot of sound baths are hosted inside yoga studios.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that you're going to be doing, bending in half and doing all the crazy stuff that Julie was talking about, a really active asana practice. And I do think in some ways it's a barrier because, like you were saying, you're like, well, I can't do that. So I'm not going to go in.
Right.
But I would encourage you to, check it out, read the description, just make sure that, you're on 100% with, what they're offering. Because sometimes it is like a yoga and sound combo of some sort. And you don't want to be surprised, right?
Right.
Yeah, consider giving it a try, and then also you might be supporting a local small business too. That our small boutique yoga studios are almost a community service at some point. Like it's really tough to stay in business with so many big conglomerates coming in. So who knows? It might be your happy place, and it's not going to make you sweat.
I don't mind the sweating. That could be another experience we try.
Oh my gosh.
We could do that could be an experience thing.
It'd be good for me.
It would.
Oh
then we can talk about it if I'm
so
sore or not
funny.
afterwards. This has been so fantastic.
Yes.
I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. I really do.
Do you guys are there any things that you want to hit on, anything that we missed, or any, sections of the book you really love and want to make sure people know about?
Oh, that's so kind. We've had such a wonderful time too. I think the biggest thing, so with the book, is really just knowing if you're interested in sound or you've been to a sound bath and you want to know more, it's a great book to pick up. We try to write it so that it's accessible to lots of people. So people who actually give sound baths can learn from the book with the way that we structured the book, and we give lots of ideas for ways to theme your sound baths around the season, but also for someone who's maybe even just interested in meditation, trying to figure out and learn a little bit more about meditation, or they've seen singing bowls and they want to know what they are. So really, we just tried to make it kind of universal for everyone. And if you're interested in trying out a sound bath, I think just like you all were talking about, local yoga studio might be a great place to start and ask. But we've seen sound baths kind of popping up everywhere now. Hotels are hosting sound baths. People's job sites are hosting sound baths. We've seen them really everywhere. So, another place to look might be Eventbrite. Just checking out what sound baths are around you. And Jess and I, pretty soon, we should have, we recorded a sound bath recently, so we're hoping to get that on Spotify soon. So we'll be sure to link that to our book site as well.
That's fantastic. But I think too, with more and more, this is a whole different thing, but how people are sound sensitive and overstimulated so easily, that we're learning about that. What a great answer for that, even for do with your kids as they start their day. Maybe I don't know, but this is fascinating. So
I'm guessing you can get this, Amazon, General, all places to get books.
Places.
And then Jess, and if you guys want to plug in do you have any social media you want to plug, and you can plug your local studio real quick too?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. You can find the book on Amazon and also at seasonsofsoundbook.com, where we have links to upcoming trainings and more information about the book if you're interested in that. You can also find us on social. You can find Julie's studio, Soul Strong Yoga, at soulstrongyoga.com, and Soul Strong Yoga on all the platforms. She's on Instagram if you want to DM her and say hi. And then you can find me same at Sound for Stress, soundforstress.com, or Sound for Stress on all the platforms. And I'll also say hi.
Awesome. Excellent. Good. And we'll make sure we'll link all that to the show notes for sure. But we really appreciate you guys talking with us about this. Yeah. That was a really good interview, wasn't it?
That was. That got me excited. I'm gonna try a yoga studio now.
You should.
Because it's not just twisting your body.
It is not, apparently. I love that they kind of introduced our audience to what the definition of yoga really is. Really good. And so we've definitely linked all their socials in the story. And then for us, if you have more questions about it, have experience ideas for us to go try, questions, anything like that, you can always find us on Instagram at an incomplete guide. Email us at incompleteguide@gmail.com. We have our website, anincompleteguide.com. So anything that you want to let us know or experiences, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So we look forward to next Tuesday when we take a breath and take a listen.
Thank Thank you for listening to this week's episode of An Incomplete Guide to Personal Growth. There are many ways you can stay connected. Follow us on Instagram at An Incomplete Guide Podcast, where you can sign up for our email list and get posts that delve deeper into our weekly topics. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast page wherever you listen to your podcasts. We would really appreciate a rating and sharing us with your family and friends.
We're so glad you chose to spend your time with us and hope there was a thought, a resource, or a laugh that you can take on your journey. We'll be here every Tuesday for you to take a breath and take a listen.